Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Phantasm Star. Before we begin today's video, I like to say that I have currently made a huge update. I have more light now, so you can see my beautiful face. Have you ever looked at something and right off the bat you judged it without even giving it a try? Well, that basically explains this anime that I just recently started watching, and as the recording of this video is still going on, but I highly recommend it. So, the series I'm talking about in particular is Ranking of Kings. Now, this is a fairly new series that came out like late 2021, around I believe it was winter time. Yeah, definitely winter time. And so the story involves our main character, Boji, and his journey of becoming the greatest king of all time. But the problem is that he wants to become the king, but he's having a hard time because he is deaf, mute, and does not possess the strength that a normal person has. So the story involves him becoming the greatest king, but it's not just that. We get to be introduced to other main characters like his good friend Kage, who is a shadow creature that we get to learn about him in the second episode. Which not going to spoil it, but it's really good, and I loved his backstory. But we get to learn a lot about the kingdom. We get to learn about the people who inhabit the kingdom, the other kings that are in the other countries that also have kings that are in the ranking system. That is kind of like the backdrop of the series. But the main point of the story is that Boji, you know, wanting to become a king, but overcoming his disabilities. Because the idea that the ranking system's kind of in the backdrop, we get to learn about the world building, about how each country that is in this kingdom, and we get to learn about their people, what their rules are like, what their traditions are, how they got into power, all sorts of different stuff. The world building's really, really good. So you might be asking, why should you watch this? And for the most part, I would say if you look at the you know poster or the image that is shown when it comes to the promotional material for this, it looks a little bit off. But the reason why I got interested, and more importantly, why a lot of people I've recommended this to have told me that they've actually loved this series. If you haven't seen the video on our rundown on the entire 12 episodes, check it out right now. It's really good. But the reason why it is I have recommended to people is because it's feels like something new. The reason why I think Boji as a character is a fantastic character, and that's considering the fact that you know it's an underdog story. And I feel like that for underdog stories, it's hard to come up with a new idea that makes the character interesting. Because you'll always have your Naruto, you'll always have your Midoriya from My Hero Academia, you'll always have all these different characters who are basically underdogs, and they also have to come through their own opposition. But the difference is that these guys have special abilities that make them unique, while the main protagonist of Boji has to find a way to adapt himself using his disabilities to make him to his advantage. And that's what I find interesting. And I find that also the fact that the comedy is just really good in this series. It's not a comedy, but the comedy does do really well, especially when it comes to Despa. If you haven't seen Despa yet, you'll love him. But I would say if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. And then try and give it the 12 episode treatment because it is really good. If you're not hooked by the second episode, I don't know, man. But anyway, so while Boji and Kage are the main characters, the cast, I will say, is really good for what they're trying to be. Because you have your main, you know, character who wants to, have his objective, but there's also people in his life who will and, you know, will and won't oppose him becoming king because they are obstacles. But they have an interesting side to them where 1 second you might think that this person might be evil, but instead he's actually good, but for the wrong reasons. It's crazy about how often a character would flip from one side to another. So if you haven't given it a shot, I'd highly recommend it. And like I said, if you want to hear a little bit more about why the series is good, check out my video on where me and my co-host talk about it a little bit more. But until then, please like, subscribe, comment, put down in the comment section if you guys have any suggestions on future animes that we're going to be watching. Because I know that after this, I'm definitely going to be looking at Odd Taxi soon, which I'm excited for. But until then, have yourself a good day.